Okay, so good morning. Let me greet you all for attending here to the second day of the info sessions for the first calls related to the business program 2022-2024 for the EIT Urban Mobility. Today we have a really interesting agenda. Okay, today we have three different presentations. First of all, the first presentation from my colleague Fredrik. Okay, Fredrik is the thematic lead for the business creation program. And then we have other two presentations for public realm and also for REITs. Okay, so now I will give the word to my colleague Fredrik. Please, Fredrik.
Thank you, Mark. So welcome everybody. I am Fredrik Hanell. I'm the business creation director at EIT Urban Mobility. And so I'll present a little bit some of the changes for this year's call for proposals for the program 2022. And obviously some of the reasons why we're doing it as we are, and hopefully some of the requirements. So next slide, please. Thank you. So some of the main changes are actually around how we focus the programs. And since we've had this ideation process, looking at the different challenge areas that we have and deciding to focus on certain areas, we have also aligned the business creation programs to those challenge areas. So both the accelerator program and the SME hub, as we call it today, is aligned with the challenge areas. Why we changed it to SME hub? It's due to a number of reasons. One of them being that we actually want to integrate better with other EU initiatives, such as the EIB, EIC, and EIF programs. And by extending our focus, we expect that we will have a better overlap with other alternatives within the EU ecosystem. Also, what is even more important, and based on the feedback that we've received both from startups but also from our current partners in the consortia, is an increased focus on helping the participants in the programs demonstrate their products and their, I'd say, innovations in live environments. So what this means is that we have made it mandatory for every participant in the programs to actually have a spot in the living lab. Also, we will increase the focus on the city pilots to better integrate with the purpose of EIT Urban Mobility, which is the city club, of course, and with whatever cities have to offer to startups, and to improve the exchange between the cities and the startup communities. In parallel with this, we also will be looking at different options to actually look at earlier stage startups, starting from incubators. We are also looking at increasing the financial support that we will offer. So amongst other things, we target to invest in 20 companies next year, which is a doubling of what we do today. And finally, we will be offering, expanding our offering to companies to actually get support and matchmaking with, access to finance, which is matchmaking both to venture capitalists and to our industrial partners and their funding alternatives and their investment activities. And finally, the EU funding alternatives that we can offer. Next slide, please. So some of the specifics. So there is a clear thematic focus based on the 5 challenge areas. There is also stronger inclusion of living labs and city pilots in the programs. A very important thing is that we are both accepting annual, i.e. 1-year proposals, or multi-annual. I'm happy to go into the details about how this will be, but this is based on the new Horizon Europe rules, and where we actually have the alternative to accept up to 3-year programs. Concerning the partnerships, just like before, there's a clear activity leader. What we do focus on is, of course, that we want the consortia partners to come from different countries. And we even think it's okay to come from different regions within EIT urban mobility. Last but not least, we do want the consortia to leverage the cities as partners for programs. So the total budget we're allocating for this call is 2.1 million euros. Next slide. Looking at the accelerator programs, it's pretty much in line with before, which means that we're looking at supporting startups with a TRL between 4 and 7. We also think that at least 10 startups and 2 batches of 5 is a reasonable target. Of course, the accelerator program should address one of the 5 challenge areas. So things like autonomous driving, or urban air mobility, or active mobility. These kind of focus areas are what we're looking for the programs. As I mentioned, we are looking at access to living labs for the participants. We want to have industry and city, even city club involvement in the programs. And what we expect is that even if the industry or the city partners aren't part of the consortia, that they actually provide a letter of intent of participation from cities and or industry partners. The programs will be providing business and investment coaching, and of course, urban mobility specific expertise. We expect there to be one face-to-face boot camp, but we do expect the program to be virtual, considering the current pandemic situation. For the boot camp, we will cover reimbursement of travel costs for the startups. If we look at the budget will be between 250,000 and 350,000 per program. And with that, we hope we can support between 5 and 7 programs. Next slide. So considering the SME hub, it's a little more than a relabeling of the scale-up hub. In the sense that we do target SMEs as defined by the EU definition of SMEs. The participants should be TRL 7 to TRL 9. We should at least support 12 SMEs, eventually in 2 intakes. A minimum of 5 pilots with cities covering at least 3 of the 5 challenge areas should be offered. A minimum of 2 pilots will be planned and executed in cooperation with EIT and mobility industry partners. We expect, as I said, that the program will leverage the cities as partners and promote the collaboration between the SME hub and the city club. Of course, organize kickoff events, co-organize a number of events to display and promote these SMEs. We will be issuing grants to cover the pilot costs. So this budget has been significantly increased compared to this year and last year. And finally, for the program itself, which excludes the grants provided to the participants, we allocate the 250 to 350,000 euro budget for the program for 2022. Please note. Next slide. So looking at the impact and the financial sustainability, we expect at least 94 startups and scale-ups to be supported by the programs and the investment and investment management activities we will be doing. We'll be doing 20 new investments. We also expect to contribute to the environmental and social sustainability of EIT Mobility's sustainable development goals. And last but not least, I think it's really important that the proposals actually address how to achieve gender equality in the participants and the applications to the programs. Last but not least, we will not be looking for commercial agreement from the partners and the consortia here. But we do expect that the proposal will include a commitment to actually provide two promising investment candidates to EIT Mobility's financial sustainability activities. We have a suggestion for a formulation. We really need that so that we don't have to discuss it further on later on in the program. So I've seen here a question. Yes, the budget is annual. Moving on, next slide. So that's it. So any questions, you can of course contact me and or the business creation team for more questions. If you have questions about what we mean and the call for proposal, etc. We also have the PMO team on standby, of course, to answer specific other questions. So any more questions? I see that Julia is typing here. Okay, well, no further questions. I hope this was clear, and thank you so much. And of course, I have not addressed anything about risks and the importance of risks in business creation, because I have the enormous pleasure of handing over to my dear colleague, Bence, who obviously will be able to elaborate a lot more on it. So thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fredrik. So I would like to continue with risks. But first of all, I would like, before presenting you the calls, I would like to clarify two questions. So please, next slide. We can move to the next one. Okay. So it's always the same question. Some of you are already bored by that, but we are always having new candidates, and because of that, it's important to clarify what is risk. And risk is to be very, very simple. South and Eastern Europe, the countries who are having less good innovation performance according to the European scoreboard. And by us, by EIT Urban Mobility, there is the difference that the risk countries are the same for everybody. But we, in our risk focus area, we exclude Spain and the Czech Republic because we are having innovation hubs there. So all the remaining countries listed there are the risk countries. Next slide, please. And the other quite frequent question is that how can I contribute if I'm an entity from the risk and I am not a partner of the KIC. So you have two different methods, and all my dear fellow directors have underlined it also yesterday, and thank you, Fredrik, that in every case you have the possibility to connect as a project partner to the project consortia. And because and in this case you cannot be the project lead, but you can contribute and you can be part of the consortia in any of the calls of EIT urban mobility. And we are having the RIS calls. They are specially to support RIS, and because of that, in the RIS calls you can be also consortia lead, and you are in focus. So let's move to the next slide and talk about the calls. What kind of calls we have? In the next slide, we have an overview of the calls in the RIS. So we are having 1.9 million euro budget for RIS this year, and we are having 4 different calls, and in the 4 we are having 2 sub calls. So let me start with RIS innovation. It's the largest with 1 million euro budget. Of course, this internal caps of the budget can be moved, so they are not so rigid. But we would like to have for 1 million euro innovation projects. And in the innovation, you have 2 possibilities. You can start a RIS innovation twin project, and you can start also some RIS innovation for specific RIS needs. We will discuss it later on. And we are having, of course, RIS business creation and RIS education. So we are covering all the main areas of the KIC activity, also in the RIS. And we are having a special kind of call to develop local communities in the RIS countries. So please move to the next slide. And I can, first, just about the eligibility criteria. So you can apply as non-EIT member, but you can include in your consortia also members, also KIC partners, core members, or project partners. So it's not limited as last year. So everybody can be contributing to the RIS calls, but of course in the RIS call, the activity lead should be non-partner RIS stakeholder. It's also interesting that you should have knowledge triangle integration and knowledge triangle coverage. You will see that we are defining the minimum criteria, but it's always welcome if you are covering the full knowledge triangle. And you should be able to integrate in your project at least 2 RIS countries. And in addition to that, you can have several other RIS countries or non-RIS countries. So just the minimum is that you should cover 2 RIS countries. And 2 other notes that if you are starting an activity in the underrepresented country, and by underrepresented, please understand the countries where we don't have a RIS hub until now, it will rank higher because it's our goal to be active also in that kind of countries. By RIS innovation, we would like to prefer the innovation theme projects against the RIS innovation for special needs if we are having too many applications, because we believe that by the RIS innovation theme, you can have a much deeper cooperation than in the standalone RIS innovation projects. So next slide, please. We are moving to the RIS innovation calls. So you can see that by the RIS innovation themes, we are having the same for area, of course, what we are having by the RIS innovation. These are active mobility, future mobility, sustainable logistics, and mobility and energy. If you are starting a RIS innovation project for special needs, you don't have to be connected to any of the innovation projects. you can start on your own. If you see there is a need in the risk, it should be fulfilled, you can start the activity. But we would like to prefer the risk innovation teams. If we are moving to the next slide, we can see that we are having a budget, 1 million euro, and suggested, or it's the project size should be between 100 and 400,000 euro per project. It's the funding part. So your project can be of course larger if you are having a high co-funding, but we are always talking also in the following slides just about the grant you are receiving from EIT. And you will see that all by my slides, it's not a maximum grant intensity, but a suggested maximum grant intensity. It means that we don't want to lose any of the good projects because of the lack of co-funding. But we are assuming that 20% in-kind co-funding is really not very high, that it should bother somebody. So because of that, we are having this suggested maximum. It means if you are having a higher co-funding, it's very much welcome, and it increases your chances to be selected. If you are having a lower co-funding, you can be eligible. So it's not an eligibility problem, but you have to have a very good justification why you are not able to deliver this co-funding. And by the setup of the consortium, so you should have at least one city and 2 industry partners. In addition, education and research is welcome. And one of the industry partners you can also replace by an education or research organization. And maybe one more information that what are the main advantages to have a risk innovation team. Of course, you are having in innovation a project and connecting to that in risk innovation one. So it means that it increases your budget, because as far as I remember, by innovation you can get 900,000 euro, and in risk innovation you can get 400,000 euro. All in all, for the same project activity, you can have 1.3 in this case. And one other advantage that you have seen yesterday by Gareth, that if you want to start an innovation project, you have to have at least 3 cities. And in the risk innovation, you have to have 1 city. But the good news is that this city is not extra. So if you are having already in this innovation 1 city, it means that it's enough to have in the innovation project just 2 cities. Or if you are having in the risk innovation 2 cities, it's enough to have just 1 in the normal innovation project. So there is a close connection, and because of that, you should also indicate on tab 3 that your project is connected and is a twin project of an innovation project, and obviously the innovation project should make the same also on tab 3 of the application. And the conditions for have to be fulfilled, you have seen, and you should have in the risk innovation twin also own KPIs and own tasks. So if you are just doing a small part of the project, you could be a project partner in the consortia. If you are having a bigger part with some partners, it makes sense to start a risk innovation team. Moving to the next slide, we are talking about business creation. By business creation, our main goals are to somehow to have a system and to get ideas how to connect the startups activities in the different risk countries internationally. to get ideas for innovative ways how to support startups and to cover the white spots where we are not present until now, like countries like Ukraine. It's the main focus of the business creation. On the next slide, we can see the conditions. You see that the project should be between 50 and 150,000 euro grant, of course. And in addition, there is your co-funding. The suggested maximum grant intensity is 80%, and there is a budget with 300,000 euro. You should have one city because cities are crucial for our activities, and two industry companies. Of course, accelerators are belonging to industry, and this is the reason. If it's justified, you can also replace the city with an education or research institution if you have a very good university embedded in the local network or local startup scene. So it's possible, but we would be very happy if you could have also one city on your side. Moving to the risk education, you will see that we would like to continue with the activities we are starting in 2021 for education. So we would like to support cooperation activities in the education, also with risk universities. We would like to offer new courses for professionals, and we would like to have university city cooperations connected to our educational program. And we are also localizing now some of the educational programs in the national languages in the RIS area. So we hope that we are giving also content that you can use by these activities. And now I'm taking a look on the questions. Maybe there are some questions. I just finished the presentation and I coming back to the questions. Okay, so next slide, please. By this education, you are having also 300,000 euro as a budget. Your activity could be could have 50 to 300,000 euro grant, and the suggested maximum grant intensity is higher, 90%, because in the education it's much harder to get the co-funding. We would like to have a city in your project, but of course, if justified, it can be replaced by a research or industry company, but mainly we are focusing on cities, and of course two educational organizations, but one of the educational organizations can be replaced also by a SME, because a lot of the educational programs are delivered by SMEs. Moving to the last call, to the community building. So we would like to support any kind of new actions, any kind of new tools. You would say it could be a perfect action to connect all the community member in the risk country with the other community members with the other risk country. So interconnection in the risk or connection of the risk community or local communities with our key community to have a more intense cooperation in these fields. It's our main interest to have it. And the conditions are on the next slide. You will see 300,000 euro is the budget again. The project size, the grant is between 50 and 150,000 euro. Suggested maximum grant intensity is quite high, so 95%. And you should cover as far as possible the whole knowledge triangle, because you are building a community, and because of that, it's very important to cover all the aspects of the participants, and maybe in industry have a higher weight in this consortium, but important is to have a good coverage of the knowledge triangle. And moving to the next slide, I think it's the last one. No, we have one more. So it's the overview that you can see. In the former years, we have had the limitation from EIT side and from Horizon side that the max funding per beneficiary can be just 60,000 euro. It's not there anymore. So it can be also 500,000 euro anymore. So I think it's not a limiting condition anymore for anybody. Of course, you have to add all your fundings in the different projects, but 500,000 euro as a non-member risk organization is quite good. So I think nobody will have the problem that reaching the cap. And of course, in the application phase, you can be over the cap. Just in the implementation phase, you have to allocate your projects on that way that you are not over the cap. You can see the maximum project size, you can see the budget, you can see the suggested grant intensity, and maybe one important thing, the projects should be closed until the end of the year, or you can start multi-annual projects. So it's also supported to have multi-annual projects. If you are doing multi-annual, of course, there will be a decision for the second or third stage later on. So all the conditions listed until now are just for the project part for 2022. And moving to the really next slide, last slide, it's co-financing. So as I told you, it can be less or more than the indicated one. But if it's more, very much welcome. If it's less, you have to justify why is it less and why can you reach the estimated co-funding. And by sustainability, we are having a strong push to have also in the risk sustainable, but it's not an obligation. And because of that, it's very much welcome if you can show the sustainability of your activity, and it's also very much welcome if you can contribute to the incomes of EIT Urban Mobility. For example, by risk innovation, you should think about there are this financial sustainability mechanism, how to involve EIT Urban Mobility later on, and by your own project sustainability. It's very important that we are not targeting to have one-time actions, but we would like to have actions they can have long-term impact, and maybe they should run long-term. And because of that, if you are having any possibility for external funding or to make it in the next years cheaper, it's very much welcome. And now I would like to move to the questions. And the first question is that cover lead requirements. So I should clarify, experienced project partner who are participating, which are still non-EIT urban mobility partners eligible for lead partner in the risk projects. Of course, so if you are experienced project partner, we have the trust. We see that you can deliver the project. It's not needed. So you can also start. You can be also project partner as a new stakeholder. But of course, if we have worked together and if we have had already some success together, there is the trust relationship, and because of that, you are very much welcome. So the next question is clean vehicles reference. It's only to electric ones or also biomethane. So it's more detailed in the innovation goal. but all the clean vehicles, so all the emission-free vehicle or low-emission vehicles are welcome. But please take a look in the innovation call because it's described much more detail there. So if you are thinking to start a RIS-Tween, it's always essential to take a look on the RIS innovation on the main innovation call. And RIS-Tween project, how do we source innovation projects to replicate? In this case, we can offer you several events of the matchmaking. You can present your idea, or you can take a look on the idea of the others, or you are just discussing what kind of projects the others are starting. So I think this matchmaking is the best way for that. But we will have also a special event for that on the 20th of April together with Garrett. So I hope that it can clarify all the remaining questions. But you should discuss with all the project holder who is having very similar ideas. And the general risk question, are the risk community activities different from the risk hub? Yes, I would say yes, because in the risk hub, you are doing some predefined exercises. So you are delivering information, you are supporting innovation projects, and so on. And also in the RIS, you are having the request to build your community. But in this case, just the RIS hubs are able to drive it. And by this kind of call, not just the RIS hubs are allowed, but any kind of organizations who can have a good method to build a community. So it's overlapping a bit with the RIS hub activity, but it's more open. And of course, RIS hubs are also welcome to hand in RIS community building projects, and they should be involved in that. But the RIS hubs has also other possibilities through their yearly business plan to start activities. So if they are just making a local community building activity, maybe they should do it in the RIS hub business plan. And if they are having a more open cooperation, maybe they can use this call. The question is the special fee of non-EIT, same as the co-financing to the project. No, this special fee, I think the special fee is connected with the project partnership 20% administration fee, what we have had in the last year. And maybe you have discussed yesterday that the conditions for project partners are not fully set until now, and they are under discussion. But it's highly likely that the project partners will have just a one-time fee, a yearly fee for the contribution, and it will be lower than the 20%. But it's not the same, because by co-funding you are offering your resources to implement the project. And this special fee is something that it's applying by project partner or not applying anymore, and what is something that you have to pay. So it's not the same. There is the application form. It's the applications you can do also in Plaza, also in the case of the RIS projects. So Plaza is not open until now. I think, as far as I know, from 1st of April or some days later, it will be open. But you can use Plaza also as this stakeholder for your application. Any limits per partner category, industry, academia, research? No, there is no internal limits in the projects. It should be balanced, but there is no certain limit. I see that Mark made me aware that the Plaza will be open from the 9th of April. So from 9th of April, you can reach Plaza. I have no more questions. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. And I would like to hand over to Florinda to explain our new public realm call. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here this morning with you. My name is Florinda Boschetti. I'm working at EIT Urban Mobility Knowledge and Innovation Community, where I'm coordinating City Club. City Club is the community of local governments, some cities and regions which are actively engaging in the EIT Urban Mobility community, its programs and its activities. As you have heard yesterday and today, the role of cities and the regions is central in this knowledge and innovation community. There's this community that we have set up, the City Club, and the challenges of these cities and the citizen needs are really driving the design of the various programs, the call for projects, with the aim to find the solutions to the pressing and emerging challenges that citizens are living and coping with every day, not just in the past year. I will introduce you the main elements of the call for projects on creating public realm. Next, please. Why public realm? And I have chosen a picture which I think it says it all. Public spaces are the places where life happens between the buildings. And I believe many of you can recognize, I'm quoting architect Jan Gell of Gell Architects, who's the author of Cities for People and many other publications that have inspired a great number of projects in Europe and around the world over the past decades, with remarkable impacts on making cities more livable places. And this is also one of the key goals of this knowledge and innovation community, creating more livable places through urban mobility projects and plans. Now, this first call for proposals on creating public realm stems from the demand of the EIT urban mobility community to collaborate across partners and other stakeholders in this KIC initiative on innovative concepts and solutions that can contribute to more inclusive, safe, and accessible mobility. And how to do this? By rethinking public spaces, public infrastructure, and the space which is allocated to daily mobility in cities, and identifying those enablers and technologies and policies and people that can help rethink the cities we would like to live in the future. Now, this call is directly addressing two of the key strategic objectives of the EIT urban mobility: creating livable urban spaces and promoting effective policies and behavioral change. Next. A few words about the nature of the project that this call is looking for. Ideally, projects shall be complementary actions within a wider city plan on redesigning public spaces, which are giving additional social value to existing ongoing local initiatives. Now, many cities have started already a long time ago with plans such as sustainable urban mobility plans, urban regeneration plans, and master plans to rethink mobility and rethink the space allocated for mobility. So ideally, projects in this call could build and capitalize on these longer term and bigger projects. We're introducing in this call tactical urbanism activities with the aim of delivering healthy and accessible public spaces. So really developing activities with the community with the aim to propose solutions that can deliver a more healthy and accessible urban environment. The aim of the projects is also to demonstrate the wider social and environmental benefits that can be achieved by providing universal safe access to inclusive mobility and public spaces, but also scaling approaches and solutions for wider citizens' participation, and not only in dense urban city areas, but also reaching out to new communities and new neighborhoods, with the aim, as I said, to improve urban livability and well-being also in these communities and target groups, which benefit less from well-designed public spaces. Next, please. The type of activities. There's a proposal of some activities that projects can look at, but this is not an exhaustive list. Obviously, there could be some combination and a mix of such activities. So piloting policies and regulations that can really guide the redesign or the reallocation of street space with temporary street experiments. And over the past couple of years, EIT Urban Mobility has supported street experiments through the CLEAR project, which I invite you to look at. It has really showed to have a greater societal impact and working with the communities. Another type of activity is the conception and implementation of tactical urbanism pilots that can really illustrate how public space can enhance sustainable living and also encourage alternative mobility choices to private car use. Another type of activities could be testing new ways and tools to survey public spaces and assess people's perception of safety and livability and accessibility in the neighborhood and the city. As we said, citizens' needs are important, not just for the cities, but in this community as well. We are here to answer those questions. So hosting participatory workshop with the civil society could be one of the activities that projects can focus on. At the same time, organizing some activities for the knowledge transfer and learning material to raise awareness about public space among the local communities during the project and after the project. So to share these experiences with more cities for future uptake in other contexts. Next. The expected impact. This call is specifically looking at public realm, which is, as we said, one of the strategic objectives of EIT Urban Mobility. And it's a transversal outcome we would like to see stemming from other programs and initiatives. But this specific call and the project should really aim at proposing and experimenting some policies which can contribute to better use, design, and management of streets and squares throughout the day with different uses, but also looking at the reduction of space which is allocated to motorized traffic, individual motorized traffic, and somehow increase the public participation in projects that can contribute to rethink the space allocation, but also boost alternative modes to private car use. The expected impacts would obviously be a better use and improvement of the public space design and refurbishment, higher levels of livability for the community, for visitors, for everybody in the city, improved multimodal access for people taking public transport with better integration, walking and bicycling, but also alternative modes to private car use, such as new mobility and shared mobility. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions for the city, deriving from less use of private car use, and improve personal safety and accessibility perception in public space. Next. Some information about the key performance indicators that you might find in the project proposal phase. The proposals shall have at least 2 cities involved. We are really looking for city-to-city, peer-to-peer exchange on methodologies, on pilots in 2 cities in Europe. All proposals must also identify at least 2 of the additional key performance indicators that you can see here, being these innovation pilot scalings, demonstration pilots, or living labs within a project that actively involve citizens and or the local associations. And also the number of public realm improvements. Now, the definitions of these KPIs will be annexed to the calls, or you can get back to us for more information about the definition of the KPIs to ensure that you are meeting and choosing, selecting the right KPIs in the application form. Next. The budget allocation indicative for this first call on creative public realm is up to 800,000 euros. We are looking to funding some 8 proposals with an average of 100,000 euros per year. Now, moving on to the next slide, you will see that the co-funding rate for this type of project, it's a minimum of 50%. As said earlier, the project shall build and capitalize on existing projects and investment that cities are conducting through other type of plans, whether these are sustainable urban mobility plans or public works. And this call on public realm is not including the financial sustainability mechanism. This is not a mandatory element, which on the contrary is mandatory on other innovation proposals. Next, please. The duration of the projects in this first call for proposals on creating public realm is of 12 months. The framework for this call is to gauge the interest of the community and beyond the key community on this topic, and ensure that this activity on creating public realm stays within the City Club for further debate with the community. So we will see how to continue with the proposals after this first year, whether there's a continued interest from the community and in which direction we would like to bring forward this debate on innovation and mobility, how this can contribute to the redesign of public space. So it's definitely a topic that will be picked up in City Club as a networking platform with all the stakeholders. So let's see how this call for the first business plan 2022 will go, with short projects of 12 months, as we said, from inception to deployment of some concepts and pilots on redesigning public space through mobility options. Now, the partner categories. As said, we're looking for a minimum of 2 cities active in the project, and another 2 additional partners that can come from other sides of the knowledge triangle, being from academia, research, or industry. Now, for this call for proposals on creating public realm, only EIT Urban Mobility core partners may be designed as the lead applicant. Next. For more details, I invite you to refer back to the call text. I will now pick some questions from the chat, but anyway, thank you for listening. Some colleagues are helping me out with the questions. I see that currently there are none on the platform. There's one question, I'm reading it out. I don't know who has posted it. Can the creation of a planning document be eligible as a project? Or does the project proposal need to be piloted? Well, we are not looking for documents and plans. We are looking for piloting policies and regulations. So there must be already a planning document which is setting out the goals of piloting some activities. So the call is more hands-on, is really about rethinking and implementing on site, on the ground, these new concepts and and piloting them for a temporary time or period before they may become permanent. It was with positive attention that I have read in the press the city of Munich has adopted in March this year the pop-up bicycles from last year that has been created for COVID have been approved to stay as a permanent infrastructure. So this is the type of transition that we would like to see, experimenting, piloting some solutions with public infrastructure and public space design, which could prove to stay as permanent infrastructure for the future. I'm reading another question out loud. There is no risk-specific call for public reorg. No, there's not specific call for public reorg. Nonetheless, let me consult internally with my colleagues and with Bence Huba to see how cities from regional and innovation schemes could possibly contribute for this call, but also how some activities on public reorg could be embedded into the existing regional and innovation scheme calls.
Yes, if I may have a comment. So I think there is no problem for risk stakeholders to be involved in the public realm projects, hopefully. And maybe if there is a need and the public realm is successful, so later on we can try to make also a specific risk call. But also in the future, maybe in 2023, we don't make separate risk calls anymore because as far as it's possible, we would like to integrate all the risk stakeholders in the main projects. And if we are having the cascading system for funding from 2022 on, all the partners or candidates will have the same legal background, and because of that, it's also not needed from the legal background to make the differentiation. So maybe in 23 we don't need to have separate risk scores, but we can involve everybody to the same projects. Thank you very much.
Bence, thank you very much for your help with this question. I'm monitoring the chat to see if there's any question from the audience. As I said earlier, please, for more details, refer to the call text. There's much more information about the type of activities and the type of projects for this first call. As a reference, don't hesitate to look on the EIT Urban Mobility website for the clear projects on street experiments and the outcomes and outputs of this successful project, but also do take time to look at Furnish. Furnish was another project which was a response to the COVID-19 health pandemic, bringing solutions for addressing the need for people to be outside in safe condition, and how public spaces can really be a relief for those confined. So creating terraces for businesses to be able to open and meet their customers again, but also playgrounds for safe use of spaces before school. So Clear project and Furnish project are definitely two projects that proved to bring high societal impact to the cities where these solutions have been implemented, and those type of solutions can be scaled in other contexts. I think there are no more questions from the audience, so I would like to conclude here my presentation and thanking you for listening, wishing you a good day and keep safe. Thank you. Mark, I'm handing over to you.
So, well, thank you very much. Thanks, Fredrik, Bence, and Florinda for your nice presentations. Thank you very much to all the attendants for attending our first call info sessions and diving into some of the general requirements of the calls with the PMO team and our thematic directors. please be informed that today's and yesterday's sessions provided a general outline on the main requirements, but further details and further detailed sessions will be offered in the course of March and April, as you can see in the agenda that is now in the presentation. For example, you can find a specific session related to the evaluation process, also to our submission tool Plaza, etc. You can find further details on the specific sessions and directly sign up for them when clicking on agenda within your B2Match account, okay? Finally, just let me remind you that all presentations from today and yesterday will be uploaded at the EIT Urban Mobility website, together with a document on the frequent asked questions, collecting all questions that you have provided to us within the days of yesterday and today. Okay, thank you very much and have a good day.